Senator, good morning. Good to see you as always. So we just heard from Jonathan Lee there, talking about Labor's costings. There's a lot of pressure on Labor to announce those before Thursday. This is something that Tony Abbott did back in 2013, though. So is imitation the best form of flattery here?
Well, whenever Labor's costings are released, we'll know that they're going to spend a lot more of your money. We know that from what they've announced so far. All we don't know is exactly how much they're going to spend. And we saw at the start of the election, the first week of the election, Anthony Albanese didn't know what the cash rate was, and now we don't know how much the Labor Party is going to spend. And those two variables, those two things are the most important things in the Australian economy right now, because inflation is going up, the cost of goods is going up, and the more a government spends in Canberra, the higher your prices will be in the shops. And so this is a key statistic from Anthony Albanese. He should be up front with the Australian people, given the circumstances we're in. This is a key determinant. But it doesn't really matter when he announces it. We know he's going to spend more than the Liberal National Party, and that means for all your viewers at home that under a Labor government they'll be paying more.
No, well, Jim Chalmers had already said as much in previous speeches, but they talk about the extra spending being needed to lift productivity. So especially when it comes to the childcare policy, you put $1 in, you get $2 back. So, I mean, doesn't that sound fair enough?
Well, this just goes to show, Peter, that I don't think the Labor Party understands economics. When inflation's at 5%, when globally it's much higher in the US and in Europe, if you spend more money, if the government borrows more money, that is going to lead to higher inflation. It'll also have to lead to higher interest rates because the Reserve Bank will have to respond. And so this is just a basic economic fact. And I think the Labor Party understands that, we've gone through the pandemic. We have had to spend a lot of money to support people through that time. Now's the time where we've got to start pulling things back just a little bit. We've got to make sure we do not add fuel to this inflationary fire. And I don't hear anything from the Labor Party about how they're going to respond to that.
Where would you like to pull things back?
Well, I think the federal government released a budget the other day, which was very responsible. We provided some targeted cost of living relief, but there was actually very little in new spending, and most economists were a little bit shocked that an election budget there wasn't that much new spending. We, of course, are getting in a lot more revenue thanks to commodity price increases. I'm here in Claremont with 2 coal mines around this town that are producing that wealth for this country. I was just speaking to Ryan at the open cut mine, and they're getting old coal fines that are lying around here and turning them into new coal lumps so they can use them in our abattoirs and hospitals that use boilers in this country. That's how scarce coal is around the country and around the world. And so this industry is holding the country up, but we're saving that revenue. We're banking a big chunk of that extra $40 billion that came in this year from the coal and iron ore and mining sectors. And so make sure that we do start reducing this deficit over time. We've got a long way to go, but that's a responsible plan. The Labor Party are going to spend more than us, and that means, as I say, all of your prices, your shopping bills, your petrol prices and your mortgage repayments would all be higher under Labor.
OK, on to the Prime Minister. He's going into what would usually be safe Labor seats, and I want to identify Blair here. Do you believe it's in play?
I do, Peter. I was down there last week and caught up with the LNP candidate Sam Biggins. He's doing a fantastic job. And I think, Labor Party have been there in Ipswich for 15 years. They haven't delivered much. That's what I heard on the ground. And I think you're seeing some of these seats which, are working class, would tend to vote Labor traditionally. They're moving away from the Labor Party because the Labor Party aren't representing workers. They're certainly not representing coal miners, but they're not just representing the working men and women of this country as they move towards a left woke agenda influenced by our laptop class, our university educated class. That's who the Labor Party represent today. So I think the LNP's got a real chance there. Sam's been pushing for some solutions for Ipswich. He's just successfully lobbied for the planning for the second river crossing over the Bremer River, and that was almost in flood when I was there on Friday, so it's clearly needed. And so I just think there's a need for a change there, and that could very well be a seat to watch on the night.
OK, well, the Labor Party is saying that Trevor Evans out in Brisbane might be in trouble, so they're sending Penny Wong in to do some campaigning. They might be looking to flip that one.
I'd love Penny. Wherever Penny wants to go, she's welcome here in Queensland. I mean, Trevor Evans has done a remarkable job in Brisbane. I know he's got a very high reputation there. I think he'll be right. But of course, that's a tough seat too. It'll be very close. This election is close. But as I said earlier in the interview, there's a clear choice at this election between a Labor Party addicted to spending, which will have the result of pushing up inflationary pressures, addicted to shutting down our wealth-producing industries and teaming up with the Greens to do so, and like the coal industry, stuff we don't need right now. We need more productivity, more wealth produced. That is the choice at this election, and I think it's going to be very close.
Okay.